Hello, America. I told you a while back that one day you're going to wake up on a Monday, and by Friday, your country won't be the same. This may be that week. In response to the big steaming mess on Wall Street, the world's central banks have been injecting huge amounts of cash into the world's financial system to make sure that firms needing the money to stay afloat can actually find some cash. If it were only that easy. Here's the point tonight, America. I hate to say it, but I'm beginning to believe this story can only end one of three ways. Another Great Depression like 1929, economic stagflation like 1979, or a Soviet-style collapse like 1989. My grandfather told me when I was very young, never think it can't happen to you. I think it can. Here's how I got there. Our conservative candidate, John McCain, is now saying yes to bailouts. The FDIC is running out of money to insure your life savings. Uncle Sam is printing money in the basement or stealing it from Peter so he can pay Paul. And our politicians are still promising us more free stuff. What the hell is wrong with us? We can only play this shell game for so long. You know it and I know it. This cannot go on. Tonight, America, here is what you need to know. We have got to make a choice. We are either capitalists or we're not. We either believe in the free market system or we do not. We can't play both sides. We've had every politician tell us for years, we're spending too much money, our deficit is out of control. So what the hell do these people do when we're up to our eyeballs in debt? They go out and they buy half of the mortgages in the country. And then to top it off, the world's largest insurance company, and now they're packing their bags to head to Detroit. Only politicians would be that reckless while we are in the position that we are in. Peter Schiff is the president of Europac and author of Crash Proof, How to Profit from the Coming Economic Collapse. And Steve Cordasco hosts the Big Money Show on 1210 AM WPHT in Philadelphia. Peter, let me start with this. Please give me another one if you think it's possible. 1929, 1979, or 1989 Soviet Union. Which are we doing?
It could be a combination of all three. That's the scary part, because not only are we going to have a giant recession, depression, whatever you want to call it, but we're not going to have falling consumer prices like we had in the 1930s. Consumer prices are going to go through the roof. You know, with all the money they're printing, it's no accident that gold is up more than $100 an ounce in the last 2 days. Now, this is pure inflation. And unfortunately, as you mentioned, you know, the government created these problems. And now the government is saying that the solution is more government. They're trying to blame the free market for the problems that they created. You know, we wouldn't have had this bubble if it wasn't for government intervention in the market in the first place.
Okay, Steve, where do you think we're headed?
Glenn, I say, you know, if you look at the system's already buckled. You have the creatures of the system in there trying to fix it. Hank Paulson broke the rules, as many Wall Streeters did, to create this problem. Now he's breaking the rules again. So of your three, I'm going to throw a fourth in there, but let's take a look at stagflation. If you go back to the 60s, LBJ saw the Fed's budget, saw their balance sheet expanding. That's why he brought these Fannie Mae off the balance sheet. That led to the inflation of the 70s. To fight the Vietnam War, the Fed did the same thing back then. The 70s were the fallout, but I'm going to give you a different twist. Here's what the market is saying today, and Peter knows this as well. It's saying that we have deflation happening, or could happen in the future, and it could look like Japan, a deep, long recession where they were handing money out on street corners and couldn't get consumers to buy. Right now, the bond market's saying deflation.
Okay, what is the difference between inflation or stagflation and deflation? I know inflation means it just costs you more to buy stuff, but what does deflation mean?
No, I'll default to Peter on that.
Well, what we're going to have is maybe you'd have a combination. Everything that we want to buy is going to get more expensive, like food and energy. But everything that we own, like stocks and real estate and bonds, they're going to fall in price. But we're not going to be like Japan. You see, Japan was a wealthy country. Japan was a creditor nation. We're flat broke. We owe Japan trillions. We owe the world trillions. We're not going to have a situation like Japan. It's going to be much, much worse. And what the government just did with AIG, taking $85 billion and nationalizing a private company, not only is this a waste of money, they're going to lose a lot more than $85 billion, but they have no legal authority to do this. So when you let the Federal Reserve print money and buy private companies, what do you call that?
Hey, Glenn, we're not smarter than the market, and if you look what the market's saying, it says that there's the possibility of Japan. Japan was AAA rated, and they lost that rating. The U.S. was...
But, you know, Steve, what Peter is saying is, we're not Japan. Japan saved their money. We spent all of our money.
I agree,
we have
and that's
massive debt. And if you go back to the 1930s, it can't be the Great Depression because we had our money backed up by gold.
That's why you go, and that's why the market's telling you that our assets are going to be worth less. But food cost, energy cost, it goes back to 70s. Peter, wouldn't you say that they expanded the balance sheet of this country in the 60s, and the 70s were the fallout from that?
And remember, until 1971, the dollar was linked to gold. We didn't default on those promises until 1971. So the minute we went on a fiat-based monetary system instead of an honest money system based on gold, that's when the inflation took off. And it's going to be a lot worse this time because the ties to gold are a lot less.
Wait, stop. Tell me what this means to the average person, because there's a lot of people that are like, oh, please, we've been through this a million times. We've always had these problems. We're America. No. It will come back. Don't worry about it. Please explain.
It means a low return on your investments. It means inflation down the road. It means the cost of living going up. And it almost, I'd say it's going to look like the 70s.
Yeah,
and it comes down to breaking of the rules. They broke the rules and they're still doing it.
Okay. So you say 1979, then we have been through this before. Peter, you agree?
No, we haven't been through it. It's going to mean a lower standard of living for every American. We've been living in a phony economy. We've been buying things we couldn't afford with money we didn't have. This is a complete collapse of our financial institutions and our way of life. The reason that all these investment banks and banks are going broke is because Americans can't pay back the money they borrowed. And since we've been living on this consumer-based economy, when this credit collapses, Americans are not going to be able to borrow money to buy things.
Okay, so Peter, explain to me, because I still can't get my arms around. What does this mean for the average person? What is their life going to be like? Is it going to be like it was in the former Soviet Union in '89? Well, is it just going to be horribly miserable like under Carter? Well, or is it going to be like 1929 where we're selling apples?
I don't know how bad it's going to get, but the average American is never going to retire. Many Americans who are now retired are going to have to re-enter the workforce. Americans are going to be spending all their money on the basic necessities of life. We're not going to have money to buy new cars and new flat-screen TVs and new cell phones all the time. We're going to be living in a dramatically reduced standard of living. We're not going to be flying in airplanes as much. We're not going to be traveling. We're just going to have to get used to a lower standard of living because we've squandered our wealth. And unless we dramatically reduce the size of government, we'll never be able to get back to anywhere near what we used to have as an economy.
Do either one of you guys, I only have time for a yes or no, either one of you guys think that we have a candidate that will reduce the size of government?
Just Ron Paul, who you're going to be interviewing later, and unfortunately, he's not running. Yeah, maybe we can all write his name in.
All right. Peter,
I agree.
Steve, thank you very much.